What does our niche and what does our optimal functioning look like? Well, our niche is our niche is between the tropics of Capricorn and Cancer. We're from the subtropics. That's where we function. That's our niche. Okay, where there is abundant vegetation and water and warm sunshine. And survival is not an 8-hour-a-day requirement. Survival is something that takes 1 to 2 hours. And there's a lot of leisure and love, swimming, laughing, music. That's our niche. As we left that niche and we moved north and south of those lines, we got into environments which were not appropriate for us, and so we adapted. And so now we'll find Eskimos drinking blubber. And we'll find cultures where they're eating live monkey brain. Okay. This enculturation process, which has caused us to ignore our instincts. If you think about any culture, whether it's Chinese or Italian or German, what is the centerpiece of every culture? What holds it together? What is the altar of that culture that everyone gathers around daily? The cuisine, the dinner table. Okay. Right? Would you go to Italy and not eat pizza or pasta? If you did, you'd probably be suffering the whole time that you didn't eat it. Okay. There we go. Optimal functioning of a human being. We have no clue. We know what it is for butterflies and bears and birds. We have no clue for humans. We do know that Einstein used about 9% of his potential. We know that there are people in Machu Picchu who are fathering children anywhere from the ages of 90 and up. We know that Victoris, if everyone's read his book, you recall in one of the chapters about that man from China who was congratulated on his 150th birthday by the Chinese government, and then on his 200th birthday, and then he was thought to have died around the age of 256, around there. And this was in the 1930s, before we had too much propaganda going on. Anyway, the point is we have no idea what our potential is. And if you look at the patriarchs in the Old Testament, average of 912 years before the flood. Okay. So, the point is we don't know what our potential is, but it's certainly not shriveling up at the age of 90 and falling over. We were probably designed to live about a millennium. Okay. Now, we said that health is not the absence of disease, it's the opposite. Disease is the absence of health, just as darkness is the absence of light. What causes the darkness? The shadows. There are shadows. All right? Absence of light. Shadows block them. So you can have a very sunny day and the clouds are there, you start to get shadows. It gets darker and darker. Okay? So, these shadows are cast by obstructions. And keep in mind, it's very important, shadows are not real. Just ask Peter Pan. He had it sewn onto his foot, if you all recall. Anyway, what are these shadows when it comes to health or lack of it? These are cultural behaviors that we learn. So we learn to do certain things, and those become the obstructions to health and the cast shadows, which we call disease. I'm going to review disease. I'm going to right now quote an MD, another MD, who I have a lot of respect for. Under most circumstances, I have very little respect for MDs. Not because what all the good stuff we can say about them, but a bit because of what they do and what they don't do. Most MDs ignore the truth to the detriment of their patients. And I remember taking a Hippocratic oath, and I can't imagine not living up to that oath. And that, first of all, do no harm. 85% of oncologists, when surveyed anonymously, would not do their own treatments, and they bring their wives to people like me and their husbands. Okay, so we're beyond negligence. We're into evil. Okay, so anyway, but John Tilden, 1840. In the 1840s he was born. He died in 1850s. He was born and died in 1940. Okay, he wrote a book called Toxemia Explained. Everyone should read it if you haven't. Incredible book. But here's a quote by him. "There is no hope that medical science will ever be a science, for the whole structure is built around the idea that there is an object, disease, that can be cured when the right drug, remedy, cure is found." And I'd like to read you part of his preface, and it's very important, so please listen. Part of his preface to the book Toxemia Explained. "From time immemorial, man has looked for a savior. And when not looking for a savior, he is looking for a cure. He believes in paternalism. He is looking to get something for nothing, not knowing that the highest price we ever pay for anything is to have it given to us. Instead of accepting salvation, it is better to deserve it. And instead of buying, begging, or stealing a cure, it is better to stop building disease. Diseases of man's own building, and one worse thing than the stupidity of buying a cure is to remain so ignorant as to believe in cures. The false theories of salvation and cures have built man into a mental mendicant when he could be the arbiter of his own salvation and certainly his own doctor, instead of being a slave to a profession that has neither worked out its own salvation from disease nor discovered a single cure in all the age-long period of man's existence on earth." So, now we're going to get into some of the details of what disease is. As our body metabolizes, metabolism means it's made of two parts: anabolism and catabolism. So building up and tearing down. Okay, and that's the ebb and the flow. If you look out the ocean there, it ebbs and flows, and all life is ebbing and flowing. Okay, so cells are built and they're torn down, and it's all done perfectly. The parts that are torn down and recycled, which are called can be called metabolic wastes. Okay, those are normally taken care of by physiological processes such as urinating, defecating, sweating, and even vomiting. Okay, this is a physiological mechanism of excreting these metabolic wastes and also some other wastes.